The lake freezes every winter in Black Pine. By December, it's a hard white plate stretching from shore to shore, thick enough to drive trucks across, thick enough that the town trusts it without question. Ice fishing shacks dot the surface. Snowmobiles carve looping tracks. Parents let their kids walk home across it to shave 15 minutes off the long road around. But in the very center of the lake, there is always a hole. Perfectly round, perfectly dark, never frozen. The older folks call it a thermal vent, or an underwater spring. They say it like that settles the matter. The younger ones don't bother explaining it at all. They just say, don't go out there at night, which of course makes it a dare. We called it the Black Eye. From the shore, it looked like a pupil staring up through the ice, wide and unblinking. Steam curled from it on the coldest nights, fogging the air. The ice around it was thicker than anywhere else, ridged and cracked, as if it were under constant strain, like something beneath was pushing upward and failing. 3 winters before, a man named Owen Mallory had drowned there. They said he fell through while checking traps. They said the current pulled him under before anyone could reach him. They said the cold took him quick. But the truth, the part everyone avoided, was that Owen had been heard screaming for help for nearly 15 minutes before he went under. The sound carried clean across the ice. After that, the dares got quieter. The night it happened, the temperature had dropped to 40 below. The kind of cold that makes your lungs ache and your eyelashes stick together. The kind of cold that convinces you nothing should be alive. There were 4 of us. Me, Ryan, Mark, and Evan. Senior year. Bored. Restless. Feeling immortal in that stupid way teenagers do. We just walk out there, Mark said, adjusting his gloves. Look at it up close. That's it. Ryan grinned, breath fogging his scarf. Evan's just scared. Evan rolled his eyes. I'm not scared. It's just water. I didn't say anything. I'd grown up hearing my father warn me about the lake. Some things don't freeze because they don't belong to winter, he used to say. I never asked what he meant. We stepped onto the ice. It groaned beneath our boots but held firm, thick and solid. Our flashlights cut pale cones across the surface as we walked, the darkness pressing in around us. The black eye grew larger with every step, its smooth black surface swallowing the light. When we reached it, the cold felt sharper somehow, biting deeper into my bones. The hole was exactly as everyone said, a flawless circle of open water, no slush, no ice crystals forming at the edges. Steam rose from it in slow, lazy coils. The water was so dark it didn't reflect the stars above. See? Ryan said. Nothing. Then he crouched. Don't, I said. He ignored me and leaned closer, shining his flashlight down into the hole. The beam vanished after a few feet, swallowed by the dark. Ryan tilted his head. That's weird. What? Mark asked. I can hear something. We all froze. At first I heard nothing but the wind. Then, faint, almost imagined, came a sound like slow, careful breathing. In. Out. It wasn't loud. It wasn't frantic. It was steady. Patient. Evan took a step back. That's just water moving. Ryan didn't answer. He leaned farther over the hole, his gloved hand braced on the ice. His breath hitched. Ryan, I said. The breathing grew louder. Then a voice rose from the water, wet and distorted, like sound traveling through a long pipe. Ryan! My blood turned to ice. Ryan's face went slack. "Dad?" The rest of us stared at him. Ryan's father had drowned in that lake 5 years earlier, his truck skidding off the road and breaking through the ice. They never found his body. "That's not funny," Mark said sharply. Ryan didn't blink. The voice came again, clearer this time. "Ryan, it's cold down here." The water rippled, though nothing broke the surface. "I'm right here," the voice continued, soft and coaxing. "You don't have to shout, just come closer." Ryan's flashlight slipped from his hand and clattered across the ice. He leaned forward another inch. I grabbed his jacket and yanked him back. "Snap out of it," I shouted. Ryan gasped, stumbling, eyes wide as if waking from a dream. He stared at the hole, shaking. "Did you hear him?" he whispered. He sounded tired. The breathing stopped. For a moment, the lake was silent. Then another voice rose. "Mark." Mark stiffened. "No," he said. "No, that's not." "Mark," the voice said again, and my stomach dropped. His sister had drowned there when he was 10, slipping through thin ice during an early thaw. "She's not..." Mark's voice broke. "She's not here." The water stirred. "Why didn't you come sooner?" the voice asked. I waited. The ice beneath our feet creaked sharply. Evan bolted. He didn't scream. He just turned and ran, boots slipping as he scrambled away from the hole. I followed, dragging Ryan with me. Mark hesitated, staring into the water, tears freezing on his cheeks. The ice cracked. A long spiderweb fracture shot out from the edge of the black eye. Mark stumbled back, panic finally snapping him free. We ran until our lungs burned and our legs felt like lead. We didn't stop until the shore lights were in sight. We never spoke about it again. Not then. 2 days later, Mark didn't show up to school. They found his truck parked at the lake access road, engine cold. His footprints led out onto the ice. They stopped 10 feet from the black eye. There were no signs of a struggle, no broken ice, just the hole, steaming gently in the winter air. The town said he must have fallen in. They always say that. Spring came late that year. When the ice finally melted, the lake looked ordinary again. Peaceful. Harmless. Ryan moved away. Evan refused to talk about it. I stayed. Some nights when the temperature drops and the wind dies, I walk down to the shore. I don't step onto the ice anymore. I just stand and watch the center of the lake. Even in summer, the water there is darker. And sometimes, only sometimes, I hear breathing. Slow, patient, waiting. And once, just once, I heard my own name spoken from the deep in my father's voice, asking me why I never come closer. The lake never freezes there, because it isn't empty. And it never will be. The cabin didn't collapse all at once. First came the sound. A deep splintering crack that ran through the walls like a warning shot. Then the roof sagged, snow piling up faster than the beams could shed it. Someone shouted. Someone else laughed, thinking it was just the wind. Then the ceiling gave way. Snow poured in like a living thing, burying the stove, smothering the fire, knocking us flat. By the time we clawed our way out, the cabin was a broken ribcage of wood and white, uninhabitable and still collapsing. "We can't stay here," Nora said, her voice shaking. Blood ran from a cut on her scalp, already darkening in the cold. The blizzard was a wall around us, wind howling so loud it swallowed our voices, snow stinging any skin we exposed. Visibility was maybe 10 feet. "Ranger station," I said, pointing through the white. Maps said there was one a quarter mile east. We didn't argue. We just started walking. The ranger station emerged out of the storm like a mistake. A squat concrete building half buried in drifts, its windows boarded, its radio tower bent sideways like a snapped antenna. The door resisted, frozen stiff, but together we forced it open and tumbled inside. The door slammed shut behind us. Inside, the air was stale but still. No wind, no snow, just silence broken by our ragged breathing. There were 5 of us: me, Nora, Ben, Lucas, and Harper. We stripped off our packs and stamped our feet, hands numb, teeth chattering. The station was one large room with a desk, some metal lockers, a cot, and an old pot-bellied stove rusted beyond use. Ben tried the door again. It didn't budge. Ice had already sealed it in place. "We'll wait it out," Harper said. "Storm like this can't last forever." I wasn't so sure. Night fell quickly. The temperature inside the station dropped with it. Our breath fogged the air. Frost crept along the concrete walls, tracing hairline cracks. We huddled together near the center of the room, sharing what little warmth our bodies could give. I could feel Lucas shaking violently beside me. "We're going hypothermic," he muttered. "We need heat." "There's nothing to burn," Nora said. "No power, no fuel." The wind screamed outside, rattling the boards over the windows. Then slowly, something changed. At first, I thought it was just wishful thinking, my mind playing tricks on me. But the air didn't bite as hard when I inhaled. My fingers stopped burning. The shaking eased. "Is it warmer?" Ben asked. No one answered right away. Because it was. Not much. Just enough to notice. Enough to feel wrong. The temperature kept rising, subtle but steady, like a hand adjusting a dial. Frost on the walls began to melt, dripping water onto the floor. "We're not generating that much heat," Harper said. "Not with 5 people." I listened closely. Under the sound of the storm, beneath our breathing, there was another rhythm. In, out, slow, measured, too deep to be human. We fell silent. The breathing didn't come from any of us. It came from the building. The walls seemed to expand and contract ever so slightly, concrete creaking as if under pressure. The old lockers rattled faintly in time with the sound. In, out. "Tell me you hear that," Nora whispered. "I hear it," Lucas said, his voice thin. Ben stood abruptly. "This place has a furnace or something. Old geothermal system. That's all." But his eyes darted to the corners of the room, the ceiling, the floor. The breathing changed. It sped up, as if reacting to our fear. The warmth intensified, no longer subtle. Sweat broke out on my forehead despite the storm outside. The concrete under my palms felt soft, not crumbling, yielding. Harper gagged. "The walls are wet." I looked. The concrete glistened, dark with moisture, pulsing faintly. Hairline cracks widened and closed in time with the breathing. In, out. "Buildings don't do this," Nora said. "No," I replied. "But lungs do." The station exhaled. A rush of warm, damp air washed over us, smelling of rot and pine sap and something coppery. My stomach lurched. "It's learning," Lucas whispered. "It's copying us." As if on cue, the breathing pattern shifted again. Shorter inhales, longer exhales. Exactly like ours had been moments earlier. We backed away from the walls, huddling tighter in the center. The floor beneath us felt warmer still. Too warm. "Why is it doing this?" Ben asked, panic edging his voice. "To survive," Harper said. "Just like us." The station shuddered. The door groaned behind us, ice cracking as something pressed against it from the inside. "Or," Nora said softly, "to keep us alive." Time blurred. The warmth grew oppressive. Steam filled the room, beating on our skin. The breathing became deep and contented, a massive, satisfied rhythm. I realized with horror that the temperature outside no longer mattered. The storm could rage for days. The station didn't need the cold. It had us. Lucas collapsed first, slumping against the wall with a wet sound. He cried out, trying to pull away, but the surface clung to him like flesh. "Help me!" he screamed. We grabbed his arms and yanked. The wall resisted, stretching, then releasing him with a sound like tearing muscle. His jacket stayed behind, half embedded in the concrete, slowly sinking in. The breathing quickened. The station liked that. "We can't stay," I said. "It's feeding on our heat, on us." "Door's frozen," Ben said, near tears. "Then we break it," Nora said, already moving. We slammed into the door together, again and again. Ice cracked, wood splintered. The breathing grew frantic, the warmth spiking as if the station were panicking. The walls contracted. The ceiling creaked. A deafening inhale shook the room, pulling air, pulling us inward. I lost my footing, sliding across the slick floor toward a widening crack near the lockers. Harper didn't stop in time. She screamed once, before the floor swallowed her leg, then her waist. We grabbed her hands, but the pull was too strong. "I'm sorry," she sobbed, as the station exhaled and dragged her down. The floor smoothed over. The breathing slowed, content again. We didn't stop slamming the door. With a final ooter, the door burst open, snow and wind exploding into the room. Cold rushed in, sharp and vicious. The station screamed. A sound like air tearing through lungs filled the space as the warmth fled. The walls stiffening, cracking, turning back into dead concrete. We ran. They found us 2 days later, half frozen but alive, huddled in the snow not far from the ruins of the ranger station. The building had collapsed inward, crushed under the weight of the storm. They said it must have been structural failure. They always say that. Sometimes, when I wake up at night, I hear breathing. Slow, deep, patient. And my room feels just a little warmer than it should. Like something is remembering how we survived. The rules were laminated and zip-tied to the dashboard, yellowed from years of salt air and cigarette smoke. I'd read them 100 times, but on nights like this, when the world disappeared into white, they felt heavier. Maintain speed between 35 to 40 miles per hour. Do not leave the cab. Do not respond to radio chatter after midnight. Never stop for pedestrians. Rule 4 was underlined twice. The blizzard had been building since dusk, a record breaker, they said, the kind that swallowed highways whole. The plow blade screamed as it chewed through drifts taller than the hood, sparks occasionally flashing when I clipped frozen asphalt. Beyond the windshield there was nothing but snow. No horizon, no sky, just a roaring, endless curtain. The radio crackled with static. Midnight had come and gone. I focused on the narrow cone of visibility carved out by my headlights and the rhythmic sway of the wipers. 38 miles an hour? Steady. Always steady. That's when I saw the footprints. They appeared one by one in the road ahead of me, dark impressions pressed cleanly into the fresh snow. Perfectly spaced. Human. I eased off the gas without thinking. The footprints stopped. They ended just beyond the reach of my headlights, as if whoever made them had stepped neatly out of sight. No scuff marks, no drifted snow filling them in. Just a clean, abrupt ending. My pulse thudded in my ears. Probably a trick of the light, I muttered. Snow did strange things at night. Shapes formed and vanished. You learn not to trust your eyes. I pressed the accelerator. 38 miles an hour. A moment later, The footprints resumed. They reappeared farther ahead, leading straight into the whiteout again, calm and unhurried, as if someone were strolling down an empty sidewalk instead of the dead center of a closed highway during a blizzard that could kill in minutes. I stared at them, heart hammering. Rule 4 burned in my mind. Never stop for pedestrians. I kept my speed. The footprints stayed just ahead of the lights, always out of reach. No matter how long I drove, they neither drew closer nor fell behind. They simply existed, guiding me forward into nothing. The radio crackled. At first I thought it was just wind interference. Then a voice broke through, thin and warped. "Anyone out there?" I froze. Rule 3. Do not respond to radio chatter after midnight. I reached to turn the volume down, but my hand hesitated. "Can't feel my legs," the voice said. "Please. I'm right here." The footprints wavered slightly as if waiting. I killed the radio. The cab filled with the low roar of the storm again. My breath fogged the glass. I told myself it was someone else on a different frequency. Someone far away, not on this road. I told myself that because the alternative was worse. The footprints continued. After 10 minutes, my leg cramped from holding steady pressure on the gas. After 20, my shoulders ached with tension. The world outside never changed. No mile markers, no exits, just snow and the endless road. I slowed just a hair, down to 35. The footprints stopped instantly, not gradually, not fading. They simply ended, sharp and final, toes pointed forward. I swallowed. "Don't," I whispered to myself. I accelerated again. The footprints resumed. This time they were closer. Not by much, maybe a foot or two, but enough that I noticed the detail, the deep heel marks, the slightly uneven stride like a limp. Snow had been pressed aside, compacted by weight. Real weight. My hands tightened on the wheel. "I can't," I said aloud, to no one. "I won't." The headlights flickered. Just once. My stomach dropped. I checked the gauges. Everything normal. Fuel fine. Engine temp steady. But the light flicker had been real. The footprints were closer still now, just at the edge of the beam. I could almost imagine legs attached to them. A body. A face. The radio burst back to life. "I see your lights," the voice said, clearer now. Too clear. Thank God. I knew someone would come. I slammed my hand against the radio, turning it off so hard the plastic creaked. The cab went quiet except for the storm. 38 miles an hour. I focused on the rules, reciting them under my breath like a prayer. Maintain speed. Don't leave the cab. Don't respond. Never stop. The headlights flickered again. And again. The footprints were right there now, just inches beyond the hood, still somehow untouched by the wind. I could see the tread of a boot sole in the snow. I imagined what would happen if I hit them. If I drove right over whoever, or whatever, was walking ahead of me. The crunch. The impact. The way the plow blade would clear the road. My stomach churned. I slowed without realizing it, panic tightening my chest. The footprints stopped. The headlights went out. Total darkness swallowed the cab. I shouted, slamming my foot on the brake before I could stop myself. The truck skidded slightly, then came to a halt, engine idling, plow blade buried in snow. Silence. The storm seemed to hush, as if leaning in. Rule 4 screamed in my head. Never stop for pedestrians. Something knocked on the driver's side door. Soft, polite. 3 taps. I didn't move. The knocking came again, a little harder this time. "Sir," a voice said, right outside my window. close enough that I could hear breath between words. You passed me 3 times already. That's not fair. My fingers went numb. I followed you, the voice continued. Every time you slowed down, I waited. Every time you sped up, I walked. Do you know how cold it is out here? The cab creaked as weight leaned against it. I can't feel my feet anymore, it said, almost conversationally. But you can. That's the difference. I squeezed my eyes shut. Please, the voice said. I just need you to open the door. Something dragged along the side of the truck, fingernails or ice or bone. I didn't want to know. I forced myself to breathe, to think. The rules existed for a reason. Slowly, shaking, I reached for the ignition. The headlights flared back to life, cutting through the darkness. The road ahead was empty. No footprints, no person. Just snow whipping past in furious sheets. I slammed the truck into gear and floored it. 40 miles an hour. Then, 45. The plow screamed in protest, but I didn't ease off. The cab rattled. The engine howled, and I didn't slow until my eyes burned from staring into the white. The radio stayed silent. The rest of the shift passed without incident. No more footprints, no voices, just snow and road, and the steady, blessed motion forward. When I finally rolled into the depot at dawn, my hands were cramped around the wheel. I sat there for a long time before shutting off the engine. As I climbed down from the cab, something caught my eye. Footprints. They circled the truck in the fresh snow. Slow, rhythmic, patient. They stopped just outside the driver's door. Inside the cab, the laminated rules fluttered slightly in the cold air. Rule 4 had changed. The ink was darker, fresher, like it had just been written. Never stop for pedestrians. They will always catch up.